Howdy there, y'all. Yamasaki here. Welcome back to the channel. Today is part 2 of the Briggs and Stratton Model A engine restoration. As you guys can clearly see, there is the camshaft. I just got this thing out about a half hour ago. Heated up the ends of the block with a acetylene torch. Let that metal get hot and it came out of there. Little expansion plug, as people said there would be. And there lies the camshaft. So the block is completely disassembled at this point. Now before we delve any deeper into this mystery machine, I figured I'd tell you guys the year that this thing was made, as I was actually able to find out through ChatGPT that this thing is either a 1939 or a 1940. It was able to narrow it down for me. Now I know what some of you are saying. You're like, you, an old country boy who likes doing things the old way, using a robot, ChatGPT? Well guys, yes, in fact I did. That is why I like AI. For that specific reason, just for the fact that I can go on, give a specific question, a very specific question in fact, and it actually narrowed it down for me. I asked it, what were the production years of the Model A, and then I asked it, where is this serial number match into all those, and it was able to narrow it down to either 1939 or 1940, which that is actually pretty surprising to me because that is right around the start of World War II. Isn't that something? This thing was born right around one of the world's worst disasters in human history. This thing has lived that long. And hell, it might have been on a farm that was feeding soldiers all the way across the seas. You never know. You never know. And that's why I love saving this old stuff. Anyway, so yeah, in the previous video, part 1, which I will be leaving a link down in the description below to, I did say that in part 2, it's going to be pretty much cleaning up and prepping the rest of the parts and getting everything painted and ready to go. And since this block is now all taken apart, as much as I can get it at least, that, as I said in part 1, is staying. Everything else on the inside is out. No rods, no lifters, no piston, no crankshaft, no camshaft, no nothing. It is ready to get cleaned up. The only thing I'm waiting on in order to do that is I am waiting on the oil pan here. I have it soaking in some semi-fresh evapor rust. Got a new 3.5 gallon bucket, 2.5 gallon bucket, and mixed it in with a little bit of the old stuff, and yeah, it looks like it's doing good. It's cooking that rust. Oh yeah, there used to be so much rust on the bottom of this thing, it wasn't even funny. Look at that. Still has a little bit of gasket material that I gotta scrape off, but that's the good thing about evapor rust. It acts as a mild degreaser too. As I've stated in previous videos, it'll eat paint and it will eventually eat grease. So I'm just waiting on that to finish up in there, and then I'm literally just going to dunk the entire block in there, give it a day or two, get all the rust, everything loosened up. That is after I degrease it thoroughly though, beforehand. And then when it comes out of here, that is going to be one brand spanking new block. Here's where I'm at in the paint stage. Got the front shroud here, I'm working on that. Got the governor, a couple pieces of the governor assembly over here that I'm painting, working on. Air filter neck is ready to be painted. Because like once after these parts, it's pretty much just the block and a couple other things, and everything's painted and ready to go and can get put back together. This project's actually going by pretty quick, quicker than I anticipated. So yeah, just letting this stuff dry a little bit longer. Then I'm gonna paint the front. I'm gonna see how pretty we can make it. I always try and do my best to really prime and paint this part properly, at least the front shroud, because that's the part that everybody sees. That's the one thing that stands out on these old engines, is that front shroud. And this thing's gonna be beautiful. Cast iron, first engine I've ever seen with a cast iron front shroud. That's pretty cool. And that red is gonna shine on that thing. Oh man, look at that. Ugh. Freshly painted 3 coats of Colonial Red. That is going to sparkle. I tell you what, folks. Still wet, so it's extra, extra shiny. Yeah, that's a good color. That is a good color indeed. Anyway, while we let that dry and got to wait on the oil pan, figured tell you what else we have to do aside from paint and prep. One step I've been forgetting to mention is, I'm going to take the valves, I'm going to take the carburetor, the piston, small parts like that that are inside the engine. I'm actually going to put them in the ultrasonic cleaner to get them extra clean. I'm going to lap the valves. What else? Got to clean the piston. So, just little things like that that we also need to do while we're getting things cleaned up and painted. So, yeah, just figured I'd let you guys know on that. As well as clean up this old school magneto points and ignition assembly right here. All I'm really going to do is I'm going to take some acetone, lay this thing down on a table, and just gently wipe away all the grease, all the bad stuff on all the wires and all the components. I'm going to end up buying a new spark plug wire because that thing just literally hooks right there. It loops up through in the magneto plate and hooks right there. I'm not sure if it was soldered. It certainly doesn't look like it was. There's no evidence of solder on that loop right there. So, yeah, hopefully this thing isn't dead. Otherwise, it's going to be a dead engine. A brand spanking new engine with a dead ignition. That would suck. Son of a piss flap, y'all. I did not wait long enough on the paint, even though I thought I did. And I got some paper towel residue on the paint. Darn it! I'm not too worried about here and here, though. Because on the block, at least on the oil pan where this thing connects, those bolt holes go all the way through. So these might act like a little bit of oil seal. But I'm going to see if I can take some wet paper towel and try and get some of this paper towel residue off. Because even though nobody's going to see it, it's going to bother me. It's going to bother me a lot. So I'm going to see if I can remedy that. And I got some other parts drying out here after a nice coat of paint. There's the air filter and wing nut, oil plugs, oil pan base bolts. There's the connector that connects the air filter neck to your carburetor. I still got to do the other side, but yeah, coming along nicely. And then there's also the air filter neck itself. I also got a nice couple of coats of paint on that too. So it's drying out here. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Alright, so now we're on to painting one of the big pieces, the oil pan, because I went ahead and I cleaned it up after I got out of the evaporust, and now I'm going to prime the bottom, prime the top, and get the painting on it. After that, it's on to the block. That is no different than any of these other pieces. Just get a nice coat. So while that's drying, I'm going to focus on the block here. It's just one thing I need to do before I get it in some nice boiling hot degreaser and get all the grimy stuff off of this thing before it goes in the evaporust. Most of you know the drill, pretty much do the same thing to all these parts and they turn out looking good. But I need to take a wire wheel and a Dremel and get in here and get some of this loose rust out of here, because as you can see, yeah, if I just put it in there with the evaporust, it's going to get all that loose rust and it's going to leave rust that's on the actual surface of the metal, and so I don't want that. And then while I am degreasing it, I'm going to, I don't know if you can see in there, but right down in the bore, the very bottom of the bore, it's kind of stiff with that piston in there, I noticed. So I'm actually going to take a Scotch-Brite pad and I'm going to just kind of make a rough crosshatch, get some of that glaze shine out of there. I'm not going to be hurting it because, it's already worn in and it's not going to take any metal off. Scotch-Brite pad definitely is not going to do that to cast iron. So I'm just going to try and clean up the bore a little bit with Scotch-Brite. And then it's going in the evaporust. Alright, let's see what I can do here. Yeah, it's definitely looking better in there. Lost a couple wires off my wire wheel there, but I got a small one, you know, a tiny one for getting into little crevices, so I'm going to try and get around that valve guide, because I know there's some in there. I got in the exhaust port there, so yeah, that rust wasn't really on there at all. I think the evaporust probably would have taken it off, because it's strong stuff, fresh stuff, but I didn't want to take any chances, so do a little more work on that, and time to clean it. Alrighty, here we go. In it goes. Fits like a glove. I'm just going to pour the rest of this water on here and get the scrubbing. Covered it all the way up, almost all the way up, which is what I was looking for. And now it's just a matter of getting in there and cleaning it up. And I've got two different pieces of Scotch-Brite. I've got a smaller one that I'm going to use on the bottom where that rust is. And then the bigger piece, I'm going to kind of try and move it in a cross-hatch motion. And I'm just going to, like I said earlier, get that glaze off the cylinder bore. But yeah, I'm going to get this thing all nice and pretty. It's going to take me a minute, but I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it all nice and clean. Freshened up. And last but not least, we're just going to take the block and I'm going to set her down in there. Just like so. Now while I let that sit in there for a couple of days, I'm actually going to fire up the old ultrasonic cleaner here, and I'm going to take parts like the carburetor, the piston, and at least the valves, and this thing's going to do a really good job at getting that carbon off and cleaned up, so definitely going to use this thing to my advantage while I can. Need to get some new liquid in it. Yeah, I kept the old liquid in there, and that's probably a couple months old. That's nasty, so I need to clean that before I even use it. Alright, so first piece to go in the ultrasonic cleaner is the piston. It actually doesn't look that bad, although I did find some badness right there. I don't know if the camera will focus, but it is pretty darn scorched right there on the bearing on the connecting rod. I checked the crankshaft. There's barely any wear and tear on it. Hardly anything I can feel. So it's probably still in good shape, but that's not good. Don't know what the cap looks like, but yeah, I might have to get a whole new wrist pin and connecting rod. Just depends on what I'm wanting to do to this thing. We're just going to set that in there like that. I got it set for 15 minutes. And I'm going to do that with this, the valves, the carburetor, the valve lifters as well. I figured I ought to do those since it's in there. Okay, so this engine block has been in the evaporust since Wednesday. It is now Friday, the start to my weekend. We're going to pull her out. Oh yeah, look at that. Make sure we get all that evaporust out of there as much as we can. Yeah, I still see some in there. Get it all out of there. I'm going to take it on over here. back into the nice boiling hot bath. Once I get done, rinsing it off and everything, it's going to go on the stove to heat up and dry. After that, I'm going to quickly put oil back on the inside of the engine and all the places where it needs oil so it doesn't rust, because cast iron loves to rust immediately when down to bare metal. After that, I'm going to tape it off, prime it, start painting it, and then I think that's it for painting all the parts. And I got more parts coming, new parts, got a new connecting rod, new rings, and a new wrist pin. Figured if I'm going through all the effort to make it this nice, might as well make it run. So that's what's going to be happening here in the next few minutes. And there it be, y'all. All dry, all sweated out. I'm not sure if that's brass or paint, but it's not coming off like paint, so I don't know what's going on there. As you guys can see, if I flip it up here, it's already starting to rust. Cast iron just does not like oxygen, so I need to get on this right away. So let's just go ahead and get this block done. And there we go. It's all done. I think the only other things I got to do to the block here are hone it. I ended up buying a hone. Figured if I bought piston rings, we need to hone it out. It's probably for the best. That Scotch-Brite just wasn't doing enough of the work. So got that. Lapped the valves. Yeah. So there is that. Now my real big main concern with this engine has to do with the magneto here. This thing does not look happy. I went ahead and I took some xylene to it, cleaned up the surfaces here the best I could. Still a lot of grease on it, a lot of nasty. I don't know what's going on here. You can see all that white stuff. Doesn't look like corrosion. I don't know what it is. And this is also really bent out of shape. I don't know if that's going to affect it or not. I have no idea. The condenser, unknown condition. Little points there, probably need some sanding. I bought a new points plunger at least as well, so I'm not sure if that's going to help boost this thing or not. I did see some scoring on the contacts on the flywheel, so I'm not sure if that's got anything to do with this or not. We'll see. So yeah, I think that is pretty much going to do it for this video, guys. I definitely still have a good ways to go before I can start assembling this. Like I said, got to hone it, lap it, figure out the magneto. Off camera, I'm going to put the magneto back on the magneto plate. I got to figure out the timing on this thing. Luckily, I took as good enough of a picture as I could get. And the thing that's confusing me is, if I can find it here, yeah, right there, you can barely see it. There's a chisel mark and there's a dot right there on the land in between those two gears. Thing is, there's another chisel mark right there, and that is the one that was lining up with the dot on the crankshaft. And in the photo I could see this cam lobe sticking out in the engine, so I think I figured out the timing. But I gotta pound this back in. Off camera, I'm also gonna put the oil pan base and mount it on the stand. Like I said, I have to re-drill, kind of reorient it. Hello, Miss Kitty. Hello. What else? What else do I have to do to this thing? I also have to fabricate a kill switch. I'm not really sure how you're supposed to kill this engine, other than to shut the fuel off probably. But on some engines, there's literally just a plate, a strip of metal that is pretty much bolted on one of the head bolts here, and you can press it up against the spark and ground it out. The Model ZZ has a built-in switch for doing such thing, but this Model A doesn't. My old Clinton 700A is a good example. It just has a strip of metal right there, and you press it up against the spark plug, ground it out. You don't get shocked, unless you touch the spark plug and don't have your hand on this thing. But I'm going to fabricate something like that for the Model A. Definitely need to do a video on this thing again. I got it running and made a video on it years ago on my old channel, but it needs some work. I got to drag it out again, get it going. It's a classic. So yeah, just a few thingamajigs I'm going to do off camera just to speed up the process. I don't think you guys want to see everything I'm doing to this engine, you know. We got to just get everything ready to go, and we'll put it together, hopefully get it running, and yeah, call it a day on it. And then it's on to the next project, and I'm pretty darn sure you guys are really going to enjoy the next restoration project. But until then, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment for more content. And Yamasaki out. We'll see y'all later.